Good morning, or should I say wakey wakey, better yet, cockerel doodle do to you all. I'm here with a very good friend of mine and someone who's been dying to stream. Ian, how are you, good sir?
Good morning to you, Brian, too. Yeah, I'm good. A little bit confused, a little bit bemused, as we all are. As I say, here we go again. Same, you know what, different day, but it's Tottenham. We know where we're at, but yeah, off we go again. Back on the
Tottenham on tour.
That was a slip of the finger, but what I needed to do. So there we go. So sorry for cutting you off here, but as you said, we're going to start now. Obviously, we were talking on WhatsApp today,
yeah.
a little while ago, and you said I've been dying to talk about this, and no one's streaming. So I was like, well, I'm going to be doing a cockerel doodle doo.
Yeah.
Let's do this together now. As we know, you and I have been friends now via YouTube over a year now, probably two, and we met in a very weird way, didn't we? After the Man City game, we're on the same bus together.
Enfield Town Station, yeah.
I cut you off at Enfield Town Station of all the places, and interrupted you on a phone call, and you were going, "I'm on the," and then you realised who it was.
Yeah.
So yeah,
you and I obstruction, Brian, by the way. You came right across me. Clear free kick, no referee, no VAR. Terrible.
Do you know what? I was being a Mourinho. I was being an horrible. But yeah, so let's get into this because you and I have had different views on very many things, but very similar on a lot of things. But let's go through your tale of events of what you think about. Here we go again.
Well, I mean, I think let's cut to the chase. Once Conte made his declarations after the Southampton game, it was a pretty lengthy suicide note. It was clear the timing was. I think he's probably said, "I've been, holding this back. I've been holding this back." What he might have been more honest and said, "I've been holding this back until the international break when I can disappear to Italy." And then the club can negotiate my way out. I think when he said that, there was just no way he was staying at the club. I don't agree with what he did and the way he did it, but I think he wanted out. We'll all agree that Conte was here for 18 months. That was his contract. He was clearly not going to renew it. What I know, some of your crowd, if I can call it that, will be saying, yeah, it was all down to Levy. Levy didn't give him, I've heard it all before. And I think we need to move a little bit beyond that. What was clear, for whatever reasons, whether it was down to perceived lack of backing or whether it was down to the fact that his wife and his daughter are still in Turin. I think she's only about 14 or 15. So she won't be wanting to leave, or they won't be wanting her to leave Italy anytime soon. The death of the fitness coach, his friend, Gianluca Vialli. You can understand anybody being badly affected by that, particularly men in their 50s. You're a bit younger than that. I'm a bit older, but it brings everybody's mortality into view. And I don't think he was enjoying his football. I think clearly the players weren't enjoying the football. The fans had clearly turned on him as well. For me, there's certain moments, but the pivotal one to me was the decision to take off Kulusevski and bring on Sanchez with whatever it was, 5-10 minutes to go against AC Milan. When we needed a goal, it was just it was frightening that any coach would even think of that. Yes, okay, I heard him say that everything changed when Romero gets sent off, but what didn't change is we needed a goal. Kulusevski was more likely to get one than Sanchez. But I think there's other things he's done. Some of his team selections, the tame performances lately, going out of the cup at Bramall Lane the way we did was shocking. The loss to Nottingham Forest away in the League Cup was pretty poor. That AC Milan game, we didn't even get a goal in the 180 minutes plus. The defeats at Leicester, Wolves, that draw. It was all coming apart, to be honest. So it's probably best that he goes. And if he was going, it was better that he went sooner rather than later.
So you say that. Let's put it like that. The way this was handled and the way the news broke, are you surprised with A, how long it took, and B, the way it was announced late Sunday evening?
Gobsmacked at both.
Okay.
Go back to when we first started streaming, it was on Bobby's show, and I was encouraging Bobby to get online. This was a Sunday night. Get online. You know, everything's happening here. Nuno is being fired, and Conte's coming. I remember you say there's no way in the world Conte's coming.
Yeah,
but,
I've got a tattoo.
Conte's coming. Conte's coming. With a better luck, we'd have got a scoop when when Bobby was streaming. Didn't happen. It was announced on the Monday morning. But my field of work for people that are watching is employment law. So I was absolutely gobsmacked that it took a week, and I don't know what particularly they were negotiating. These things are always can always be complicated. It's all very well saying pay me up to the end of the contract, but maybe Levy was saying this is gross misconduct. We're not paying it. If you want, we'll sack you for gross misconduct. You'll get nothing. The problem with that then is the confidentiality and non-disclosure points that always come with these contracts, which is why you or these settlements, which is why you never ever hear anybody saying anything after they've left. And Conte's words yesterday, you know, how much I loved it and the fans and thank you everybody and what have you. That's all the choreographed stuff. But I am a little bit surprised it took so long. Whether we were looking at bringing in another manager and announcing it simultaneously, I don't know. There's lots of people with social media, it gets worse. We all speculate and people put facts into social media, which are pure speculation. But your question, I was surprised it took more than a couple of days, to be honest.
And then obviously how it was announced. I mean, the way I found out, it'd be the same as everyone else. Obviously, I had just finished recording a Cockerel Doodle Doo ready to go on Monday. Had to get up early for work, so I went to bed. I weren't going to stream or do anything. 10 o'clock, getting in bed, just ready to chill. And then all of a sudden, my phone went absolutely crazy.
It would.
He's gone from all over the shop. I was like, we talked about it. It's not a Sky Sport. Then obviously there was the announcement that they'd put on their social media, and it was confirmed. And then that's how. I mean, where were you when it happened, or how did you find out? Probably similar way.
Sunday night, just probably just getting ready, thinking about going to bed, and bang, there it comes up. But this is a Sunday night timing. It's extremely odd because no doubt the lawyers would have been working on it. But I pretty well assumed that the lawyers with something like that would have been working till Friday. And if they were doing stuff, it might have been done on Saturday or they'd come back to it on Monday. It's odd if they were concluding agreements, having worked all weekend on a Sunday night, and then announced it. It was all odd, but we can only speculate about the reasons for that.
And also, now let's move forward. Your thoughts on Stellini, Mason for 10 games? We'll come on to managers after. What do you think about Stellini and Mason for 10 games, and where do you think we can achieve?
I'll be honest. When Conte was ill and Stellini ran the club, ran the team for a couple of games, particularly against Manchester City, I was really impressed with that. I was impressed with the way we set up. I was impressed with the intensity, the tactics, moving Dyer forward into midfield and stifling their supply. I'm not unhappy with it. I know everybody wants the big name to come in. There's all kinds of reasons which we can talk about. Stellini actually has a pretty good record when he's deputised for Conte in the past. And I mean, I don't know anything about Ryan Mason's work, but everything I hear says everybody is impressed with him. Conte, apparently, when he was over, because he hadn't got his work permit through, was watching training, but allegedly couldn't take it, but was impressed with what Mason did on the training field. I don't know, but I think in the absence of bringing in a full-time manager or full-time coach at this stage, this actually makes sense. Things can't get any worse, let's be honest. I mean, how we're still in fourth remains a miracle. The players like Mason, they seem to like Stellini. We might just get a bounce. We might get a bounce, and that might create, and we'll come on to managers, as you said, but if they do well, let's say they win 8 and draw 1 and lose one of these hard games, a lot of hard games we've got coming up. But let's say they do really well and get us into fourth. Do they then give them a contract to next year as well? It's interesting, but I'm not unhappy. If they don't do well, they don't do well. Things were imploding under Conte anyway, so it wasn't going to be any worse, Brian.
Yeah, you've got a point there. I will say with Mason as well. I don't know if you know the story with Mason and Conte. And I did a lot of research for this and seen videos about it. Apparently, as soon as Ryan Mason was obviously at Tottenham, got to remember Ryan Mason had his horrific injury. For Hull against an Antonio Conte Chelsea.
Oh, right. I didn't know that.
And then straight after that game, Antonio Conte went to the hospital to spend time with him and had been an ever-present ever since, like always checking up on him, always. So there was, as soon as he came in, he put him back with the first team squad. Conte insisted on that. So there's a very close bond between those two. It goes to show the human side of Antonio
absolutely.
Conte,
Absolutely.
Where it comes to the management, I mean, you look at it now. Who would have thought after all this, we've only now got one fit right back after having 4?
It's unreal. It's unreal.
We got one fit left back, one fit right back. It's just ridiculous. I do you know what? The way I look at it right now, I don't think top 4. I think we don't get it, and that's not me with my Levy out hat on. I want things to implode. I just can't. I think Everton is going to be a horrifically tough game with what they're going through and at home, and we know what the Goodison Park crowd is. I think Brighton at home is hard, and then you've got that horrible week of I can't remember the order, but Newcastle, Liverpool, Man United, and this is just. I don't think we could want a worse week.
It could all fall apart, and we could easily finish 7th or 8th.
Yeah,
absolutely. No, I'm not suggesting we will get top 4 for a minute. I'm just sort of putting it out there. If these two do very well, because the team is underperforming at the moment. I know people complain this one's got no talent, that one's got no talent, but the team, the collective is underperforming at the moment. So we will see. We will see. But I'm inclined to agree with you. If we got and maybe we would be better off without Champions League for a year, and maybe concentrating on stuff domestically. And the Europa League, of course, is an easier competition. I mean, I don't fancy the Eurovision Song Contest much, but whatever they call that league. The Europa League might be all right for a year if we can get that.
And before we go on to the next manager and who it could be and who you want it to be and how we go about this, what do you think right now? If I said where we finish in, what would be your head over heart?
I think we'll finish above Brighton, but I think we'd finish below Manchester United and Newcastle. If you're asking me to put my head, not my heart, so I would say we'll finish 6th. That would be where my head says. My heart will always say we're going to win. We're going to finish 3rd. But my Liverpool, Man United are already ahead of us. I think Liverpool may come back as well. At some point, they've got to get better, surely. 5th or 6th. I don't see us finishing 4th realistically.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with Liverpool, what we've got to remember as well is whereas our injuries are all happening, theirs are all coming back.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a big problem. Now we get on to where we go. Who's your top pick, or you think let's go for your number 1 pick and outside the box pick.
Okay, my number 1 pick is Ange Postecoglou at Celtic.
We'll go for the Celtic dude. There's a lot of talk about him.
there's been speculation, and there'll always be, and there'll be some watching, any idiot can win the Scottish League. What the heck? Ange Postecoglou has won 2 titles in Australia. He's won competitions with the Australian national team. He's won the J League with unfashionable teams. And he came into Celtic when everybody went, "Who the heck is he? What is this about?" And he robbed the Scottish League. Now, I know these aren't the English Premier League, but whether it's with Tottenham, this man in the next couple of years will come to England and will develop a really good side. I think one of the reasons for picking him, and there's going to be a risk anyway. We'll talk about candidates, I'm sure. There's no, you thought Levy did anyway. Thought he was buying guaranteed success with Mourinho and Conte, and look where we are now. Probably back again from where we were 2019, 2020. But the other thing is he plays really front foot football. His general style is 4-3-3. He plays a high line. I tell you what, he's getting a real tune out of Cameron Carter-Vickers as well. He's probably the top central defender in Scotland.
And I have to say quickly, and I'll let you carry on, but just in case people are wondering why is Ian picking this guy straight away, Ian does live in Glasgow.
Yeah,
so Ian is very, very close quarters to what's happening with or with the old firm. But carry on, in as you were saying.
Yeah, no, but for the football he plays, it's very much front foot. He has 2 wide men. His fullbacks get forward, which if we're going to have Pedro Porro and our friend Destiny as well, that might just very well work. He'll need at least one better central defender, which we all know we need anyway, and who he replaces. But he has, a solid 3 in midfield, workers box to box. I think he would get a real tune out of Bissouma. He plays football on the front foot. It's attacking. It's fast. It's furious. It's intense. It's the sort of football that, not dissimilar in a lot of ways to the football that Pochettino played, but it's more. It's not as counter-attacking as Pochettino's, particularly playing for Celtic. You don't play counter-attacking football with Celtic. You're expected to get the ball and go forward and attack. But everywhere he's been, he's a winner, and he plays football. I think if we're not going to win trophies, for God's sake, at least let's be entertained when we're down there, rather than coming off and thinking, "Oh my God, that's dreadful." I mean, that's absolutely dreadful. So he would be my number 1. My second pick, and I'm leaving. Well, I'll come back to the 3rd and 4th picks in a minute. My second pick would be Thomas Frank. I know you're a fan of his, and you're a big fan of Ollie Skip and what have you. We see a lot of things the same way. Take Mr. Levy out of the equation, and I think we have very similar views. I think there's a lot about Thomas Frank that I like. His ability to work within budgets, which he will have to under Levy. There's no getting away from that. We don't have an open checkbook policy, and I don't think we will as long as he and Enoch are involved with the club. I'm very impressed with the sophistication of their analytics. Now, when you look at the money that's been wasted and seriously wasted on players, I mean, where I would take issue with a lot of the Levy outers when they say, the club don't invest. The club has invested.
Just badly.
The problem is we've invested so badly.
Yeah.
A lot of reasons. We've chopped and changed managers too much. We've chopped and changed technical directors too much. I gather that Paul Mitchell's going to be back on the market. I'm not sure why he's going to be back on the market. But when you look at him leaving the club and saying, "I had my dream job, and basically I had to leave it because of Daniel Levy." We don't know the ins and outs of that. And he was on garden leave for nearly a year and a half. But exactly the kind of person we really need at the club, but we need more sophisticated analytics to judge the players and make less mistakes. There's no guarantee you buy a player for whatever you pay for him that it's going to work. And I like the way Brentford's set up. I like the way they play. I like the intensity of their play. Again, I think he's somebody ready for a bigger job that would do a great job at Tottenham. I think we need a project manager, and I hate using that expression. I think we need somebody who is going to work within the constraints of the club. We'll have our DNA, but we'll see this as a 3 or 4 year project, as long as Mr. Levy gives them the time, because that's been one of the problems, is he's not given some managers enough time. And then when he has given them time, he's hit the panic buttons, particularly with Pochettino, for all the wrong reasons. Which would bring me back to my third choice, which would be Poch. I'm always wary of going back, and I know a lot of people watching will say, "No, Poch is the man." Recreate those great days when we went to Madrid and what have you. Sometimes you go back and it doesn't work. And I think the optics, in fairness, for ENIC and for Levy are really bad, because then the fans say, and people like yourself would be absolutely entitled to say, listen, Mr. Levy, Daniel, you've just wasted 3.5 years for absolutely nothing. Yep. And that would be fair. But I think he would do it. I think he would do. Hopefully, he would do a great job. I'm just not convinced about it. Nagelsmann would be an outstanding appointment. I mean,
I called him. Do you know what I've done with this? Well, when we speak about this, I've kind of put him up there and said he's like the crown jewel, because I think he is the crown jewel for everyone. And said, like, right, take him out of the equation, because obviously that is big. That is big. That's another elite. So I think everyone would say him. But yeah, you were saying about Nagelsmann.
Yeah, well, what I was going to say is, if Nagelsmann wanted to come and said, I'm only interested in signing a 4-year contract. You can have a break clause after 2 if you want it, but I'm here for the long term. Yep. I'm here to build a club, which is what's needed. I would be over the moon at that. And he certainly, when you look at what he's done in the game compared to, say, Postecoglou or compared to Thomas Frank, it's an absolute no-brainer. Yep. My problem is that this is where I do get angry with Levy, because I think for a man of his undoubted intellect, he seems incapable of any joined-up thinking when it comes to the football side of the business, which is something I maybe talk about before we finish, Brian. But I would worry with Nagelsmann if he could work with a quality of player we've got, which is not as high as he had at Bayern, albeit he fell out with some at Bayern. Maybe not dissimilar to those at Leipzig, but I would be wary of someone like Nagelsmann, that if it didn't work out with Tuchel or Real Madrid came calling, that he would be off. And I think that's the last thing we need.
See, that's a great point, because there's another name in the hat.
Luis Enrique.
No, it's not even him. I've heard his name. And you know what? I think this guy was an incredible footballer. He comes across as an incredible gentleman. And you're talking Vincent Kompany. Now, when I say that, I think he's going to be a terrific manager. But exactly what you were saying with Nagelsmann about Real Madrid, I think the second Pep goes, wherever that man is, it doesn't matter who goes.
Kompany goes.
And you know what? You can't blame it. Like Glenn Hoddle did that with us with Southampton.
No.
When Frank Lampard did with Chelsea, obviously it didn't work out. But when you're your boy club,
absolutely,
you can't help it. But I couldn't agree more with you with managers.
But Brian, didn't Kompany get fired off by Antwerp, having failed miserably there?
Yeah, I don't. So he started off miserably. I think they had a resurgence. I don't think he did. Like, I don't think they hit like European spots, but but you got to remember what he's done at Burnley. We know what Burnley Football Club are like for the football they play.
Oh, absolutely.
What he has done there in a season is absolutely extraordinary.
I haven't seen them, and I usually try and watch a little bit of Championship football, but it does get difficult with all the Premier League and watching, Celtic up here as well. So there comes a point where you just have to stop watching football. I think it would be interesting. The other two names I was going to mention, though, were that I saw one speculation today about Zinedine Zidane, and I'm thinking, oh, please no. And the other one is Luis Enrique, who can work. Who's fallen again, is another one who seems to enjoy the fallouts, and only seems to be able to succeed with elite players. That's not where we're at.
Exactly.
I don't think that's where we're at. I'd rather have a young up-and-coming coach, and De Zerbi is one that I've not mentioned, simply because he had a fairly patchy record before he came to Brighton, and it's a little bit like, second albums scenario that I'd like to see how we did next season.
Exactly.
Before I would be saying, let's take a chance, because I keep saying this, and as I say, this lack of joined-up thinking at board level annoys me. Someone has to look at where the club is trying to get to in a year, in 3 years, and 5 years, and then have a solid plan of how it's going to get there. And one of the things is you have to surely have continuity in the dressing room, particularly on the coaching staff.
Yep.
So that's really where I'm coming from on this. But I fear that, whatever, Levy will go for one of his quick fixes to try and keep the Brian Daigle out of his.
Well, do you know what? I don't even think the quick fixes do it anymore. In all honesty, Ian, we've gone past that point. Listen, like you said earlier about Jose and Conte, it's all well and good bringing them in, and people can say these players that he works with, even with the whole Skriniar Roden, that's where we're at, and we're just afraid it will continue to happen regardless of the manager. But who knows? Hopefully, a new manager can come in.
Yeah,
and let's say this time will be the one that leads us to glory. But we are going to move up a level in. We're going to move from managers, because I asked you just before we came on, had you seen the Paratici's come out and spoken, and you hadn't, and then obviously we watched it together. So Paratici speaks now. It's for me, it was 4 minutes 50 seconds of blah blah blah. But as you said, and you're right in this, they're politicians. They're the kings of spin. They do what they want. What are your overall impressions and intakes from the video itself?
Yeah, I mean, as we spoke about before we came on air, it's absolutely right. They're all media trained. He'd have had wads of advice from the PR department with his scripts and what have you. That's just how it works now. When you put, a microphone under any footballer's nose, and they're articulate, and they all come across very sensibly, which wasn't always the case when I was younger. What I found most interesting is the fact that Paratici was allowed to speak at all, given the fact that he's facing not only a potential ban by the Italian FA that is likely, I would have thought, to be worldwide. I've never come across in football a situation where a domestic ban isn't enforced around the world. I mean, you can't get a 6-match ban from playing in England and say, well, I'm going to sign for Inter Milan and be able to play in Italy. It just doesn't work that way.
Yep.
And also, of course, the issue of potential criminal trial charges, which would be a lot more serious, because I think on the kind of allegations he's facing, then a custodial sentence wouldn't be impossible. Now that, I think, has been put back to May the 10th, which will take us pretty well close to the end of the season. Yep. But the fact that he's been allowed to speak and come back into the spotlight would suggest that if he can, Levy would like to hold on to the director of football if he can, which again I think is interesting, because sometimes I think we're just cursed and we're unlucky. But a year and a half ago, we had Paratici. Okay, we got Nuno. Big mistake. Gone. Yep. Solved. Paratici brings in his mate, Conte. We've got everything in place, haven't we? We've got state-of-the-art training facilities. We've got a stadium that's now generating full revenues from the football side and the off-football activities. We've got a director of football. In fact, it's not director of football. He's managing director of football, which is, I know it's certainly semantics, but it gives an indication of where I hoped that the board were perceiving the position. There was a budget, there was money that Daniel Levy was going to butt out a little bit. We got an elite coach. Everything is in place. Absolutely everything is in place. What could possibly go wrong? Oh yeah, it's Tottenham.
You should be a screenwriter. You should be a scriptwriter for EastEnders, because that was a build up there. I liked what you were doing.
Just, but I haven't even rehearsed that line at all. So there you go. What could possibly go wrong? But it's Tottenham. But I mean, we need continuity. I mean, I'm talking about continuity in the dressing room. Okay, Conte's gone, but if Paratici was interested in staying, great. If he's not, then I want another director of football in who is going to make the football decisions. Part of the problem, the major problem, and he's no idiot. Surely, Levy can see that he's making decision after decision in terms of managers, bringing them in. Saki was the 15th or 16th manager in 20 years. We've only had 35 managers in our history going back to, 1882. 1882. We've had 35 managers, and now 15 of them or 16 of them are going to be in the 20 years of Enoch's reign. And you say,
it's shocking, isn't it?
It's wrong. Yeah, it is. It's hopelessly wrong. And so we need a director of football. We need the chairman, who I think, and again, of his weaknesses, I know you ever just throw him out the door, but he's clearly, everything I'm seeing suggests he's the worst kind of micromanager. He wants to be involved in every single aspect of the club. Now, I think that was great when people complained about it with the stadium, but the man is a land economist. He has a first-class honours degree from Cambridge in land economics. That means he can tell you the value of every square inch of that stadium. So when he builds a goal line bar that stretches the whole width of the field, he does that. He's done that because he knows he can draw the revenue he can derive from it. When he builds an American football pitch, a gridiron football pitch that rolls under the turf pitch, he does it because he's worked out the revenues for that. I have no problem with that. And that's why I don't mind if Levy and Enoch stay. And it's as big an if for me as it is for anybody, the football side of the business is left to people that know football and are given a budget and are just allowed to get on with it, rather than being having someone looking over their shoulder, managing them. And I can imagine, I don't know, that's the kind of thing that Mitchell was alluding to when he said, my dream job turned into a nightmare by Daniel Levy. I can get that. And no doubt he doesn't watch this, and no one from his team does. But if he would genuinely leave the football team and the football business to football people and get on with doing what he does very well and run the business, because it is a good business and it needs to be a good business to underpin the football side, then it can work. But I fear it's a pipe dream.
That's the thing, mate. And just a final comment, Paratici. Do you think this is the thing with all this going on? This could be a window where we don't know our manager, or we don't know our director of football is going to be hired or in prison or dismissed. Where do you see things? Do you see at the start of the window opening, Paratici still in a job, or he'll be gone?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I would have thought it's probably 80% gone, I would have thought, because of the potential of the ban and then the prospective criminal charges against him, albeit he could carry on working with criminal charges overhanging him, because a man's innocent until proven guilty. And I don't know when that case would go to court. But it's very difficult for the club and for everybody if he's negotiating contracts and bringing in players, not knowing if he's going to be there or if he's not going to be there. The ban, if the Italian Football Association require the ban goes worldwide, then obviously he'll be gone. He'll be precluded from working. So on balance, I think he'll be gone. And it was only the fact that he gave that interview at all, and I suppose someone had to give it. That because Daniel Levy doesn't come out and say anything like that. Sometimes I wish he wasn't quite as publicity shy as he claims.
It could have been huge if he wasn't.
It
could have helped him out massively.
I couldn't agree with you more, but that's just the man he is. No one's going to change that. So it was just the fact that he gave that interview at all that somewhat surprised me. But no, I think on balance he'll be gone. But we'll leave. He said, "Well, I tried that and it failed, so I'll just do the business again." Or would he try and bring in somebody like Glenn Hoddle, who knows football? It doesn't have to be him, but he's still working in commentary, still knows the modern game, understands Tottenham's DNA, has won 2 FA Cups, and he was still there when we won the UEFA Cup. Yeah, he was. He went in '85, so he knows what it's like to win trophies for Tottenham and understands the importance of winning trophies for Tottenham. So somebody like that, steeped in Tottenham traditions, but. It could be Ian Meth, to be honest with you, as long as it's not Daniel Levy.
Honestly, I'd say, well, first of all, people, if you want to speak to Ian or converse with him more, because the one thing is we do have a lot of opposite views when it comes to the ownership. But like Ian said, 99.9% of the time with anything else, we're bang on. And I do love speaking with you, Ian. Because when we do speak about it, it's a sensible, rational, respectable discussion. Never any
absolutely.
And people can find you. That is Ian's Twitter handle, Shaggy1712. Ian, always a pleasure. Listen, we'll get
you as well, Brian.
Definitely get you on again.
Tremendous.
All I will say is like, comment, subscribe, and as always, Levy out.